excited to be joined this morning by a Democratic candidate for Senate in Michigan. Nasser Beydoun is a business owner. He also was the executive director of the Arab American Chamber of Commerce and chair of the Arab American Civil Rights League. And it's great to have you join us this morning, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So go ahead and put this up on the screen from Fox News. You had a spicy take here. You are urging Biden to drop out of the 2024 race, and you are pointing in particular to what you describe as his handling of the Israel-Gaza conflict, throwing his presidency into a tailspin. Just elaborate on why you're making this call and what you're seeing there in Michigan.
Well, you know, being on the ground in Michigan, a lot of the people who had supported President Biden in the last election say they're unwilling to do so regardless who the Republican nominee is in the upcoming election. And I think that the Biden camp is banking on the fact that people are going to forget about the 12,000 Palestinians killed in Gaza and Biden's inability to do anything, or his not wanting to call for a ceasefire and try and put an end to this conflict. And people are going to hold that against them. And I think, you know, not only in Michigan, but other very vital swing states, he's lost a large majority of people who supported him in the last election.
Yeah, we can put these poll numbers up on the screen. This is from Ben Samuels, who looks at some of these, quote, latest troubling poll numbers for Biden on Israel, and these are from NBC News. 70% of voters aged 18 to 34, so a very young demographic, disapprove of his policy. 56% of all voters disapprove of his policy. 51% of Democrats say Israel's gone too far. 49% of Democrats oppose U.S. aid to Israel. So that is really interesting, and I'm curious if it is something you're also seeing on the ground in Michigan, as you mentioned, a swing state that had been sort of a place where you had parents going against even the teachers union in a way that caught national media attention when it came to books in schools, and people saying maybe this is sending all of these voters to Republicans that roughly share Biden's Israel policy. I can imagine as you're traveling the state now and talking to people in your state, that's definitely not what you're seeing anymore.
No, it's become a race of which is the better of two evils in terms of a lot of the people in our community. You got to remember that Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016 by approximately 10,000 votes. Joe Biden won it in 2020 by about 150,000 votes. So it's a very small margin of error, and every vote's going to count in this upcoming election. So what's going to happen is that you're going to get people who choose not to vote, or they're going to vote but not choose anybody at the top of the ticket, or maybe go to Robert Kennedy or Cornel West as a protest vote. So I think that, one, President Biden has lost his moral leadership in this upcoming election. Two, he's 81 years old. We can see that he doesn't have the vitality to run this country for the next 4 years. So, and also when he ran in 2020, he said he was going to be a transitional president. He's going to try and fix right what Trump did to this nation and put it on a better footing. But now that he's in power, he's decided he wants to run when he's 82 for 4 years. And also he has a vice president that a lot of people don't, consider as a viable alternative to be the next president. If we had a vice president that was, gave people confidence, then it would be a different scenario, but we don't. And I think that if he chooses to run, he's going to lose. And not only is he going to lose, he's going to cost us the majority in the Senate and no chance of getting the majority in the House.
Nasser, you put your finger on something when you said it's the lesser of two evils. And what the White House is saying is, number one, people get over it. Number two, when you're faced with the alternative, all right, it's our guy Biden or it's Trump, people are going to remember the Muslim ban. They're going to remember, the chaos of the Trump administration, and they're going to suck it up and they're going to go back to the polls and they're going to vote for Joe Biden. Why do you think that it'll be different this time?
Well, because you got to remember that when you talk to people, they say, oh, the stock market was better under Trump. Prices were better under Trump. And Trump might have issued a Muslim ban, but he wasn't complacent in the death of 12,000 Muslims in Gaza. So, if they're betting on the fact that Trump is the worst of two evils, I think, they're miscalculating how people actually feel. This issue has galvanized people all across the country. And it's not just Muslims and Arab Americans. You have Jews, you have Christians, you have anybody that's anti-war seeing this president take this country and on a course that a lot of people don't want to go. And you also have to remember, when Trump was president, he didn't cause any wars. He didn't attack anybody. So people are going to look at it. And I think that President Biden and his team are grossly miscalculating how people feel and the anger because of what Israel is doing in Gaza right now.
And a lot of college towns in Michigan, in your state, Nasser. So how are you seeing this dynamic translate into the primary campaign for U.S. Senate? Obviously, Alyssa Slotkin is running for U.S. Senate in Michigan, establishment Democrat figure, actually former CIA, which is interesting in the context of this particular issue. So when you see young voters, as you point out, not just Arab Americans, but sort of across the board young voters opposing the Biden administration's policy here, have you seen some of those dynamics then translate into the Democratic primary for the Senate seat in Michigan?
Definitely. We've seen a lot of momentum. I'm a long shot candidate. I'm not your typical candidate that's going to be running for U.S. Senate. I've never held office before. I'm an immigrant. I'm an Arab. I'm a Muslim. I'm a man. So, but I do see that our position, our opposition to AIPAC's dominance and occupation of Congress is really gaining traction with people. And, you mentioned Alyssa Slotkin's. Well, if AIPAC and the CIA had a baby, it would be Alyssa Slotkin's. So, we're this is a fight that we're going to take to the people of Michigan and let them choose who they want to represent them in the next U.S. Senate race.
Lastly, Nasser, just to go back to the Joe Biden point, would you go so far as to say you think he's doomed in the state of Michigan based on what you're hearing and seeing on the ground?
I will guarantee you that he's doomed in the state of Michigan and other states that are going to be too close to call, because he has alienated so many people. And you would think a person like Joe Biden, who lost his wife and a child and then another child, would empathize with the Palestinians and the 5,000 children that have been killed in Gaza in the last 44 days. But we see no empathy whatsoever. And then, President Biden just published a op-ed in the Washington Post, I believe it was yesterday, in which he says that after this, there needs to be a Palestinian peace process and there needs to be an outcome where the Palestinians have a state. Where were you before October 7th? Why were you trying to circumvent the Palestinians with the Abraham Accords instead of being, trying to forge a peace deal that could have prevented, had the Palestinians had hope for the last 20 years, maybe we wouldn't have had an October 7th. But the US, the Arabs, the Israelis have given the Palestinians no hope. And today is just the culmination of, their despair and their lack of hope of ever establishing what's, their rights and their aspirations.
Nasser, lastly, just tell people where they can learn more about your campaign.
Well, they can go to my website at Nasser, Nasser, 4miformi.com.
All right. Well, good luck to you, and we appreciate your time this morning and your very clear-eyed analysis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's it for us today. We will be back tomorrow with all of the latest of whatever is happening in the world. We'll see you then. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.